You know, I'm here and wish you luck and everything. He goes, John, you're here, and you're not late.
Johnny Depp is one of the most recognizable actors in Hollywood history. A chameleon who's transformed himself into pirates, gangsters, mad hatters, and outlaws. For decades, he's been admired for his talent and adored by audiences around the globe. But behind the fame, Depp's career hasn't always been smooth sailing. Not every co-star, collaborator, or fellow actor walked away praising him. In fact, a few left with bitter stories, bruised egos, and harsh words. Unlike some stars who avoid controversy at all costs, Depp's life and career have often been marked by turbulence. Sometimes it was clashing personalities on set. Sometimes it was jealousy or suspicion in his personal life.
Hunter, it was about 3 in the morning, and Hunter said, Johnson's just called. He's coming over.
And in recent years, his high-profile court battles have dragged other actors into the storm, sparking accusations, divided loyalties, and very public grudges. Tonight, we're counting down 7 actors Johnny Depp reportedly hated, or at least had troubled, hostile, or deeply complicated relationships with. Some of these feuds played out on movie sets, others in private relationships, and still others in the harsh glare of the courtroom. From tense professional clashes to accusations of jealousy and betrayal, these are the stories that reveal Depp's darkest Hollywood connections. Number 7. David Krumholtz.
The younger version of my character is played by a really great actor named Ed Squires.
David Krumholtz is not a household name on the level of Johnny Depp, but he's a respected actor with a career spanning films like The Santa Claus, 10 Things I Hate About You, and the CBS series Numb 3RS. He never worked directly with Depp, yet his outspoken comments during the 2022 defamation trial between Depp and Amber Heard placed him firmly in the camp of Depp's critics, and made him one of the rare actors willing to publicly condemn one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. Krumholtz's connection came through Amber Heard. He co-starred with her on the short-lived NBC drama The Playboy Club in 2011, years before her relationship with Depp made headlines. When the trial became a global spectacle, Krumholtz used Instagram to voice support for Heard. He described her as a victim of abuse by Johnny Depp, and accused the public of confusing Depp's charismatic screen persona with his real-life behavior. His words were blunt, labeling Depp's courtroom demeanor as smug and dismissive. For Depp, whose legal strategy depended heavily on swaying public opinion, such criticism from a fellow actor was more than just background noise.
Relish in the similarities in their lives, and they both are adults in very serious relationships, and they like to meddle in each other's respective relationships.
Hollywood thrives on solidarity, and in a climate where many celebrities remained silent, Krumholtz's decision to side so openly with her drew attention. It highlighted how Depp's personal battles had fractured opinions in the industry. Krumholtz admitted Heard wasn't perfect, but insisted she was the victim, not the villain. This nuanced position set him apart from the tidal wave of social media vitriol directed at Heard during the trial. He framed Depp as manipulative, using his celebrity charm to mask deeper flaws. For fans loyal to Depp, those words were infuriating. For Heard's supporters, they were a rare moment of validation from within Hollywood itself. While Depp never publicly acknowledged Krumholtz's remarks, the divide was obvious. Here was an actor who had no direct grudge against Depp, no on-set feud or personal score to settle, and yet he chose to brand Depp as abusive and arrogant. That made Krumholtz's criticism sting all the more. It came not from rivalry, but from principle.
My ego was very tiny when I was young.
Krumholtz may not have shared a screen with Johnny Depp, but his condemnation during one of the most public trials in Hollywood history ensured his name will always be linked to Depp's most controversial chapter. In a career filled with eccentric characters and blockbuster roles, Depp likely never expected to face such damning words from a peer. And that's exactly why Krumholtz earns his place on this list. Number 6, Benicio del Toro.
I don't know. That's a good question for the writer, because I don't know. I collect Infinity Stones and.
When Johnny Depp signed on to star in Terry Gilliam's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 1998, he knew the project would be wild. The film was adapted from Hunter S. Thompson's psychedelic classic, and Gilliam's direction guaranteed a chaotic set. But what Depp didn't expect was just how much his co-star, Benicio del Toro, would test his patience. Gilliam himself later described the clash. Depp arrived on set meticulously prepared. He studied Thompson's mannerisms, voice, and quirks until he could embody the gonzo journalist perfectly. He had a clear plan for every scene. Del Toro, on the other hand, plunged headfirst into a method-style freefall. He improvised constantly, embraced erratic physicality, and often derailed takes with unpredictable choices. To Gilliam, this unpredictability sometimes created magic, but for Depp it was maddening. Depp reportedly grew so irritated that he began refusing to shoot scenes after Del Toro, insisting on going first before the energy could be thrown off. Gilliam recalled Depp asking in exasperation, "What's Benicio doing now?" before declaring that he didn't give us awards about Del Toro's approach. He just wanted his own work to remain usable. The tension reached the point where Gilliam admitted Depp hated working with Del Toro. The director framed it as a creative clash, one that paradoxically fueled the film's chaotic energy. But behind the camera, it was a war of acting styles. Depp's precision versus Del Toro's improvisation. To outsiders, the feud may seem minor, just two actors working differently. But for Depp, who prized control over his craft, Del Toro's unpredictability felt like sabotage. Every ruined take meant wasted time and disrupted focus.
What? Medicine! Medicine? Oh, yeah, medicine, right. It's right here. Don't worry. This man has a bad heart. Angina pectoris. But we have a cure for it.
For Del Toro, meanwhile, Depp's frustration may have looked like rigidity, a refusal to embrace the chaos that fear and loathing demanded. Ultimately, the film became a cult classic, and both performances were praised. Yet the behind-the-scenes stories tell a different tale. For Depp, Del Toro wasn't just a co-star. He was a constant obstacle. The experience cemented Del Toro as one of the rare actors Depp genuinely couldn't stand working with. In Hollywood, creative differences are common, but few escalate into open resentment. With Benicio del Toro, Johnny Depp learned the hard way that sometimes the biggest challenge isn't the role, it's the person across from you. Number 5. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Honored. I want to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press and the incredible cast and crew of this amazing film.
Today, Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the most respected actors in the world. But back in 1993, when he co-starred with Johnny Depp in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, he was just a 19-year-old kid on the rise. And by Depp's own admission, he didn't have an easy time earning Johnny's respect. Depp was in his 30s, already known for Edward Scissorhands and his rebellious, anti-Hollywood attitude. He was going through a difficult period in his personal life and wasn't in the mood to play big brother to a teenager on set. DiCaprio, meanwhile, was enthusiastic, full of energy, and constantly talking about video games and teenage obsessions. The clash of personalities was immediate.
From place to place, tramp steamers and such. But I won my ticket on Titanic here at a lucky hand at poker. A very lucky hand.
Years later, at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival in 2016, Depp openly admitted how rough he had been on the young actor. He told the audience, "I tortured him. He was always talking about these video games. I was not always very receptive to him." Depp even joked about refusing to share cigarettes with DiCaprio, a petty act that underscored his annoyance at the time. To DiCaprio, who was immersing himself in the challenging role of Arnie Grape, Depp's cold shoulder must have been intimidating. Here was one of the coolest, most famous actors in Hollywood, treating him like an annoyance rather than a peer. Depp himself later acknowledged that his behavior wasn't fair. The resentment wasn't really about DiCaprio personally, it was about Depp's own state of mind during those years. The irony is that despite Depp's dismissive treatment, he also recognized DiCaprio's extraordinary work ethic. Even in that 2016 reflection, Depp praised how committed DiCaprio was to researching his role and pushing himself as a young actor. He admitted that his irritation eventually gave way to respect, but the memory of that early tension lingers. DiCaprio went on to become an Oscar-winning superstar, while Depp's career became increasingly overshadowed by personal turmoil. Looking back, Depp's comments reveal a mixture of guilt and grudging admiration. He may have tortured DiCaprio in the moment, but he couldn't deny the young actor's talent. For fans, it's a reminder that even the biggest stars aren't immune to jealousy, bad moods, or clashing personalities. And for Depp, it's proof that sometimes the actors you resent most in the moment are the ones you end up respecting the most. Number 4, Lola Glaudini.
Johnny Depp has this monologue that he does back and forth. And after a couple takes, Ted Demme comes over to me and he's like, okay, Lola.
For most young actors, landing a role opposite Johnny Depp in the early 2000s would have felt like winning the lottery. Depp was at the height of his fame, beloved for Edward Scissorhands and Donnie Brasco, and about to become Captain Jack Sparrow. But for actress Lola Glaudini, her first day on the set of Blow, 2001, turned into one of the most traumatic experiences of her career, all because of an encounter with Depp himself. Years later, Glaudini recounted the story on the Powerful Truth Angels podcast. She described how, in her very first scene, the director asked her to laugh at a moment while Depp delivered his lines. She followed instructions, not realizing what would come next. After the take, Depp reportedly stormed over, pointed his finger in her face, and exploded. "Who the fuck do you think you are? I'm trying to say my lines and you're fing-pulling focus. Shut the F up." The tirade left Glaudini shaken. She remembered feeling humiliated, as if she had somehow ruined Depp's performance simply by doing her job. For a young actress trying to establish herself, the outburst was devastating. When the story resurfaced decades later, Depp's representatives disputed it. They told Deadline that Depp always prioritized good relationships on set, and that his memory of events differed from Glaudini's.
Was immer Ihnen ein korrupter Richter da unterzeichnet hat. Ein Schritt in mein Büro und ich lang Ihnen eine
A crew member also told Variety that he had never seen such an incident. The conflicting accounts leave the truth somewhat murky. Still, Glaudini's vivid recollection painted Depp as volatile and cruel, at least in that moment. Her story spread quickly across entertainment outlets, adding to the growing perception that Depp could be temperamental and difficult behind the scenes. Whether the incident happened exactly as she remembered or not, it left her with a lasting impression of hostility. For Depp, the accusation was another blemish on a career already marred by rumors of bad behavior. For Glaudini, it was a formative lesson in the harsh realities of Hollywood, that working with a star doesn't always mean being treated like an equal. What makes this account so striking is how unnecessary the alleged blow-up seemed.
On SVU, I'm playing Virginia Pell in Official Story. She's a pretty badass, high-end lawyer for some bad boys up in the private enterprise.
This wasn't a clash of acting styles or a feud over creative differences. It was a moment of pure rage, directed at a young actress who was simply following directions. True or disputed, Glaudini's story remains one of the ugliest anecdotes tied to Depp's name, and a reminder of how fragile reputations can be in the glare of stardom. Number 3, Ellen Barkin.
I mean, I'd like to say that I know it's difficult, but we didn't find it so difficult. I mean, I think part of it is...
Ellen Barkin and Johnny Depp first crossed paths in the 1990s, and for a brief time they were romantically involved. Their fling was short-lived, but its fallout would linger for decades, resurfacing in courtrooms and tabloids long after the relationship ended. What began as a Hollywood romance eventually transformed into one of Depp's most publicized feuds with a fellow actor.
I'm very proud that you've given me this honor for a project that was so...
Barkin co-starred with Depp in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 1998, but their personal relationship had already cooled by then. According to Barkin, the reason was simple: Depp's jealousy. She later testified in both his 2020 and 2022 libel trials, describing him as jealous and controlling. She claimed she saw him throw a wine bottle across a hotel room and even recalled an incident where he allegedly strangled an assistant director during a heated outburst. Barkin stopped short of accusing Depp of physically harming her, but her testimony painted him as unstable and aggressive. Depp's response was equally sharp. In court, he dismissed Barkin's accounts as the bitterness of a woman scorned. He argued that she held a vendetta because he refused to commit to a serious relationship. In his view, Barkin's testimony was less about truth and more about revenge. What makes Barkin's account significant is that it placed Depp's temper and jealousy into the public record under oath. While Depp denied the incidents, her testimony gave ammunition to his critics and added to the mountain of claims about his volatile behavior. For Barkin, speaking out seemed less about rekindling old drama and more about warning others of what she had experienced. The tension between the two actors never cooled. Barkin continued to speak openly about Depp's behavior in interviews, telling HuffPost she believed his darker side was very real. Depp, in turn, continued to frame her as vindictive. Their opposing narratives became part of the larger debate surrounding Depp's reputation, especially during his highly publicized legal battles with Amber Heard. This wasn't simply a case of two exes trading barbs. It was a bitter reminder of how personal relationships in Hollywood can bleed into public battles, shaping reputations for decades.
Not at all. I don't think so. That's what makes it powerful for us. I mean, that's what is so powerful about reading Tobias Wolff's book.
For Depp, Barkin's words carried extra weight precisely because she had once been close to him. For Barkin, speaking out meant forever tying her name to Depp's controversies. Their feud is less about a single on-set clash and more about the enduring sting of jealousy, rejection, and resentment. And even now, it remains one of the most personal disputes in Depp's long and turbulent career. Number 2, James Franco.
Protecting the neighborhood and gangs in New York in the 50s. And
it's a cool look there, the back and the t-shirt and all that.
This look takes about an hour in the morning, and it takes about an hour to wash out.
Johnny Depp and James Franco never actually shared the screen, but Franco became a lightning rod in Depp's life for reasons far more personal than professional. Their feud wasn't born on a film set, but in Depp's marriage to Amber Heard, and during the 2022 defamation trial, Franco's name came up again and again as a symbol of Depp's jealousy and rage. The story traces back to The Adderall Diaries, 2015, where Heard co-starred with Franco. According to Heard's testimony, Depp was furious about her decision to take the role. She claimed that Depp hated James Franco because he suspected the two were having an affair. Heard recounted a particularly disturbing incident on a private plane. Depp allegedly interrogated her about filming an intimate scene with Franco, then began throwing objects in a drunken rage before eventually kicking her. Depp denied the abuse, but the trial made clear that Franco's mere presence in Heard's career was enough to trigger Depp's anger. Heard described his hatred of Franco as obsessive, an example of how jealousy consumed their relationship. For her, Franco was less a colleague and more a target onto which Depp projected his suspicions. What made Franco's role in the saga so striking was how little he actually did. He didn't attack Depp publicly, didn't testify against him, and didn't comment on the trial at all. Yet his name became shorthand for Depp's paranoia. Every time Heard mentioned Franco, it reinforced the image of Depp as a man whose insecurities poisoned his marriage. In court, Depp's lawyers tried to frame Heard's testimony as fabricated, insisting her stories about Franco were part of a broader attempt to smear him. But Heard's repeated emphasis on Depp's hatred, her claim that Depp bristled whenever Franco's name was even mentioned.
Oscar-winning songwriter, Detroit's own Eminem. He'll speak with us about his new album, which has been mired in controversy concerning lyrics that some view as demeaning to the elderly. Tonight,
painted a picture of an actor consumed by suspicion. In Hollywood, jealousy is nothing new, but few rivalries unfold in such a public and bitter way. Depp's alleged loathing of James Franco wasn't about artistic clashes or creative disagreements. It was about trust, fidelity, and the unraveling of his personal life. Franco himself may have remained silent, but in Depp's world, he loomed large, an enemy without ever lifting a finger. And for that reason, his name remains etched into one of the most volatile chapters of Depp's life. Number 1, Amber Heard.
A lot of delayed gratification. And it's impossible to be objective about it. So for me, it's a perpetual kind of oscillating journey back and forth.
No feud in Johnny Depp's life, personal or professional, has ever been as destructive, public, or deeply bitter as his relationship with Amber Heard. What began as a whirlwind romance on the set of The Rum Diary, 2011, turned into one of the most infamous Hollywood battles of the 21st century, complete with marriage, divorce, restraining orders, and a courtroom saga that transfixed the world. Depp and Heard married in 2015, but by 2016, the relationship had collapsed. Heard filed for divorce and obtained a restraining order, accusing Depp of physical and verbal abuse. She described a pattern of controlling behavior, jealousy, and violence. Depp denied the allegations, insisting he was the real victim, and what followed was years of legal battles that dragged both actors through the mud. The feud hit its peak in 2022 during Depp's defamation case against Heard, after she wrote a 2018 Washington Post op-ed describing herself as a survivor of domestic abuse. The televised trial turned into a cultural event, with both sides presenting shocking testimony. Heard described terrifying incidents of violence, while Depp painted Heard as manipulative and abusive. Each side produced photos, texts, and witnesses. The result was a divided public, with millions rallying behind Depp while others supported Heard. The jury ultimately found that Heard's statements were defamatory, though it also upheld one of her counterclaims against Depp. Both claimed partial victories, but the damage to their reputations was lasting.
Well, I guess in 2 days.
Hurry.
For Depp, the trial was an attempt at redemption. For Heard, it was a fight to prove she was telling the truth. What makes Amber Heard stand apart from every other feud in Depp's career is the sheer scale of the animosity. This wasn't just a clash of personalities or acting styles. It was a war that consumed years of their lives, tarnished their careers, and polarized Hollywood. Depp himself admitted in court that their relationship was toxic from start to finish. Heard described him as violent. Depp described her as manipulative. In the end, their hatred seemed mutual, bound up in pain and betrayal.
I am from Texas, and I live in LA now, have for the last 10 years or so.
What part of Texas?
Austin, outside of Austin.
Oh, Austin. Great.
For Depp, Heard represents more than an ex-wife. She became the face of his greatest battle, the person whose accusations nearly ended his career and whose name will forever be linked with his own. Whether you believe Depp, Heard, or see truth on both sides, one fact is undeniable. Amber Heard is the single most contentious and hated figure in Johnny Depp's life story. Johnny Depp's career has spanned more than 40 years, and in that time, he's built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most versatile and iconic actors. Yet, as this countdown shows, even a star of his caliber hasn't escaped feuds, grudges, and bitter rivalries. Some of these clashes were born on set, like the frustration with Benicio del Toro's unpredictable style, or the tirade that left Lola Glaudini shaken. Others were personal, like Depp's cruel dismissal of a young Leonardo DiCaprio, or the lingering resentment with Ellen Barkin. Still others spilled into the courtroom, with names like James Franco and David Krumholtz surfacing not because of shared roles, but because of the chaos surrounding Depp's relationship with Amber Heard. And then, of course, there's Heard herself, the person most tied to Depp's legacy of conflict. Their marriage, divorce, and courtroom battles transformed private animosity into global spectacle. It was a feud so explosive that it reshaped not only Depp's career, but public conversations about abuse, fame, and truth in Hollywood. What's striking is that, for a man often described as charming and magnetic, Depp left behind a trail of actors who described him in darker terms: jealous, volatile, abusive, or simply unbearable. Some of these accounts remain disputed, but taken together, they reveal a side of Depp that fans rarely see on screen. In the end, the story of Johnny Depp isn't just about the characters he played, it's also about the battles he fought, the grudges he carried, and the enemies, real or perceived, that shaped his legend. And in Hollywood, sometimes the rivalries are as unforgettable as the roles themselves.